Commission of January 19th, 2022. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, the gate is open and no parking coupons are needed. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners, and the staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held January 5th, 2022.
So moved. Campbell?
Second, Joy.
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost, Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Shelley to read all of the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, item consent 1.1, comprehensive plan conformance 21026, to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan amendment to the Dairy House redevelopment project, which is included as part of the Lincoln Center redevelopment plan, to revise the order of the project phases and identify the Phase 2 project will consist of the rehabilitation of the structures identified as condominium units G, H, I, and J for additional offices and manufacturing space for the company occupying units E and F and affiliated with the Dairy House LLC on property generally located at 300 South 7th Street. Item 1.2A, annexation 21012, to annex approximately 5.45 acres, more or less, on property generally located southeast of South 40th Street and Rokeby Road, associated with 1.2B, change of zone 2002A, Grandale South Plan Unit Development for a change of zone from AG to R5 PUD to expand the existing PUD by 5.45 acres to allow for an additional 120 dwelling units, 120 hotel units, and a 9,000 square foot decrease in commercial floor area, with approval of a development plan with modifications to the zoning ordinance and land subdivision ordinance on property generally located out South 40th Street and Rokeby Road. Members did receive a staff memo dated January 19th identifying revisions to the conditions of the staff report agreed upon by both staff and the applicant. Also on consent is item 1.1.3, miscellaneous 21014, to review the proposed determination that the South Folsom redevelopment area be declared blighted and substandard as defined in the Nebraska Community Development Law. The study area is approximately 73 acres and is generally located south of Pioneers Boulevard, adjacent to South Folsom Street and Highway 77. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
No, I don't see any.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No.
If there's anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items, please stand and state the item at this time, and we remove it for public hearing.
We need to take the two items related to the Grandale South PUD, the annexation and the change of zone off consent, so we can clarify our clarification memo.
All right, so 1.2A and 1.2B will be scheduled for public hearing. Is it Is there anyone else wishing to speak on any of the other items left on consent?
I'd move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second, Joy?
Okay. Shelley?
Okay. Campbell,
Yes?
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 7-0.
You want my vote?
Oh, yes, I do.
No worries, no
Thank
worries.
you.
Just check it.
Okay, we should go through the request for deferral next. So Shelley, would you call the request for deferral?
Yes, we received written communication on behalf of the applicant requesting a deferral of associated items 2.1A and 2.1B, annexation 21010, and change of zone 21053. This would delay public hearing and action to the February 16th, 2022 Planning Commission hearing. 2.1A, annexation 21010 to annex approximately 41.99 acres, more or less, on property generally located northeast of South 70th Street and Yankee Hill Road, and 2.1B, change of zone 21053 from AG to R3 PUD for the Market Point PUD for up to 120,000 square feet of commercial floor and up to 464 multifamily dwelling units with adjustments to the zoning and subdivision ordinances on property generally located northeast of South 70th Street and Yankee Hill Road.
Move deferral until February 16th, 2022.
Second, Rodenberg.
Okay?
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on these applications that have been deferred today? Okay. With that, we will now proceed to public hearing. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please provide that information to the clerk for distribution. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes, then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Shelley, please call the first public hearing item.
The first public hearing item is removed from the consent agenda 1.2A, annexation 21012.
Okay. Applicant, or staff, yeah, sorry. I'm just jumping ahead.
That's okay. Steve Hendrickson with the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. This project is an amendment to an existing PUD. Let's see if we can get it to show up here. So this is on the southeast corner of 40th and Rokeby Road, on the south part of the site. To this overall PUD, what you're focusing on is an amendment which is on the north part. Just south of Tiger Lily Road here is the Bryan Cancer Center. And so the Bryan Cancer Center was really the focus of the PUD previously. It was zoned 03 PUD and is not being amended as a part of this amendment to the PUD. To the north was just generally shown apartments with some commercial space and not a lot of detail. So what they're doing is coming back in and they are adding about 5.5 acres here over on the east side, and then showing a specific layout that includes both some multifamily units, but it also includes a hotel and potentially some other small commercial space. The hotel is a nice tie-in with the Bryan Cancer Center that would be to the south. So this while it's amending the overall PUD, it's really only adding about 5 acres and giving us a lot more details in terms of the grading and drainage and the lot layout. So the uses, multifamily is something that was already previously approved, as well as the commercial. So the corrections that the staff had given you on our previous conditions were some things that we were trying to work out at the last minute. And of course, anytime you try to do things at the last minute, sometimes communication is not exactly perfect. But the two things were that basically this existing Tiger Lily Road, which was approved with the first application, there were some amendments and some things that were done with it, particularly as it crosses a drainage way. There's quite steep slopes coming off of it. We bring in the sidewalks a little closer. Some things that were approved with the first part that were shown in details with this, and we got confused that, well, hold it, were we doing that also on the whole roads? And so condition 3.5 is just being clarified that, yes, when we bring the sidewalks in and we do things as we cross a drainage way to reduce the costs of a culvert, we don't do that throughout the whole thing. So we'll get that cleaned up. And then also on condition 3.14, there's a little cleanup in terms of the slopes of the project as a whole versus the slopes as you're crossing Tiger Lily. And really the one reason for asking this to come off consent is that condition that we have already amended in our staff report. The very last sentence was requested by Watershed that it would say retaining walls are not acceptable on the side slopes. The developer pointed out, well, on this portion of Tiger Lily that had already been approved, they've already moved forward having some retaining walls in there. So our request is that you amend the last sentence there so that it would say retaining walls and strike out the words are not acceptable. So retaining walls on the exterior slopes of the detention cells, comma, are subject to the approval of LTU watershed management. So with the last part we would add are subject to the approval of LTU watershed management. And that basically then allows Watershed and the applicant to look at some more details of this and make sure they're all on the same page. And if for some reason they weren't, we could further work this out at the City Council, because it is a relatively minor thing on the overall project. The developer did host a neighborhood meeting. They had some neighbors who are a good quarter mile or so on acreage development to the east come and look at the project. I don't think anyone had any objections. This certainly is seen by the fact that we have no one here today and we have not received any letters. Because generally the land between this development and the acreages, who are well over half mile to the east, is vacant currently and will fill in with single family and single family attached in the long term. So there's a lot more development yet to happen around this. To the west of this site, on the other side of 40th, is future commercial. There's also an LES substation there, and potentially a middle school site, but that's over on the west side of 40th Street. So overall, a very good project, and would be a nice addition right next to the Bryan Cancer Center, and just some minor things for us to work out with the developer on the site plan.
Questions for Steve? Thank you. Testimony from the applicant.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. Danae Kalkowski appearing today on behalf of the applicant, Sundance LLC. Steve stole all my thunder because he really kind of gave you the presentation, and I was just going to mention too that we did hold the neighborhood meeting and didn't have any opposition to what was being proposed. Actually, they're very complimentary and thankful for just being kept in the loop of what's going on every time one of these comes up. So there's been a lot of communication with this neighborhood group over the years. We are in agreement with the staff proposed changes. I think with those changes, we'll be able to get our details worked out between now and City Council. So with the change that Steve has given you here just a few minutes ago, then those are acceptable to the applicant. And I'm here as well as Aaron Bright from Olson, Nate Buss from Sampson Construction. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the applicant?
just want to say thank you for holding the neighborhood meetings and keeping those neighbors in the
welcome.
loop. It sure
We're
makes a
get-
difference.
We're getting pretty good at
For
Zoom meetings.
everyone,
We're getting
yes.
pretty good at Zoom meetings, so.
Right. Thanks,
Right.
Danae.
Thank you.
Yep. Any testimony in support? Neutral or opposition? Okay, any other staff questions or applicant rebuttal? I will take a motion to close.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Joy.
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz, oh,
She's not-
sorry. Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
I would move with the added amendments that we approve annexation 21012.
Second, Core.
Discussion.
I think this looks like a good change. I think it's also a smart move to put a hotel next to the cancer center, so if people are coming in from, outside of town, that they have some place to stay that's real handy, and that's important. So I appreciate all the work that's done, and again, on holding the neighborhood meetings, that's important.
Just clarifying your motion, Dick, that it is approving those items with the staff memo as with the additional change made by staff.
Correct, with the pencil changed also.
Any other,
So both amendments.
any other discussion? I think this is an exciting project. It's important for our community. I appreciate everyone's willingness to be flexible as we do the last minute work to get it in front of the city council in good shape. Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
and Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
I would also move to approve change of zone 20002A.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Did you catch that, Shelley?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can put down whoever you want.
Okay, Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And just one clarification on that, that also includes the amendments
Yes.
as part of the vote. Thank you.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. Seeing none, I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Campbell.
Second, Joy.
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
That was awesome.